You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Bobby the Brain Heenan passed away this past Sunday, and he will be greatly missed. He was a very colorful and entertaining character in the world of professional wrestling, both as a manager and as an announcer. He fulfilled both of those roles splendidly. His wit was second to none and quite cutting at times. And I feel very lucky and blessed that even when he was starting to decline in his health, I was still able to see him be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. That was an experience I will treasure, but I don't want to go on because I know everybody else has their thoughts too, and we have so much more to talk about. We have a No Mercy pay-per-view coming up. We have a very controversial show that did not happen in Ottawa, and let me start by introducing the incredible William Huckabee.
What's going on, people? How you doing, man? I'm super excited about this episode. First of all, my biggest condolences to Bobby the Brain Heenan, and something you forgot to mention, Stevie, is that not only was Bob, as we like to call him, the Weasel, an accomplished, and probably one of the greatest, commentators and probably the greatest, wrestling manager of all time. He was a very accomplished wrestler, not only, in the upper Midwest, but in the Midwest and stuff as well.
That's right. He broke in the territories back in the 60s and 70s and had quite a good run at it, but his charisma was second to none, and people wanted to get the rub off his charisma to make them bigger stars, so inevitably he became a manager just because he was too damn good.
He was amazing, man. Totally amazing.
Well, I know everybody else has some thoughts as well. Let me go to the lovely and talented Abby of Top Rope Press.
I don't be calling me lovely and talented. In the last 2 weeks I've become a hateful, awful, shitty, unprofessional person.
None of those things describe you.
Heenan was, well, according to a handful of people, they do. I'm chasing people off from everywhere, but no reason at all, it seems. Yeah, Heenan was, I grew up with Bobby Heenan, and he was probably the best manager in professional wrestling ever. And there will never be another one like him, and hopefully, Monsoon was waiting for him up there in the gorilla position when he got there.
Absolutely. That was the most heartbreaking part of his induction speech, was when he said, I wish Monsoon was here, because you can tell that their friendship, even though they seemed to be rivals on television when they were doing commentating together, the only reason they could be such rivals with each other was because they became such good friends behind the scenes. They were perfect dance partners for each other. Well, let me go ahead and try to introduce the Great Sudoku, a.k.a. Jason Harlan, because he hasn't been formally introduced yet on this show.
I have not, and it was sad to hear of Bobby Heenan's passing, and actually what I was thinking of, I think it was like Dennis Rodman when he came into the NWO, actually in WCW, Bobby Heenan, that came to mind, just how cynical he was when, I think it was Rodman did an arm drag, and Heenan goes, yeah, first time ever in a wrestling ring, and that was just the brilliance that was Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Well, the brilliance of Bobby the Brain Heenan to me was the unbridled passion of his hatred for Hulk Hogan, from AWA to WWF to WCW. He consistently hated Hogan for his entire run at all three.
Yeah, that was his goal in life, was to destroy Hulkamania. He just never quite got around to doing it.
Yeah, it was the Dungeon of Doom goal too, and they didn't get around to it either, so can't blame Heenan too much.
Well, Heenan did at one point have the best possible weapon to destroy him, Andre the Giant, and even Andre couldn't finish him.
Oh, that was all Vince's fault.
The promos that he cut leading up to WrestleMania 3 were some of my favorite from my childhood. Especially, and I've heard this one replayed many times in the last few days, the one where Gene Okerlund was trying to interview Andre the Giant, and Bobby kept interrupting him and saying, you don't talk to Andre, you talk to me, I'm his manager. And then Gene gets flustered and exacerbated and says, I'm the one conducting the interview here. And Bray just responds, well, how do you like that? Maybe I should be the one conducting the interview.
Okay, is there anything that anyone had wanted to add about Bobby the Brain Heenan before we move on?
No.
No, I honestly wish when sites had done, their eulogies for him or their obituaries or their remembrance pieces for him, that they did not use pictures of him from later in his life when he had part of his jaw removed. To me, that was very uncalled for.
That's why I chose a picture from the 1980s where he was just decked out in all his regalia.
I did too, because to me that was just... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I say that I found it, and maybe it's just an indie wrestling thing, but I'm always disturbed by the fact that, like, yeah, WWE does, like, you know, video packages for people and stuff when they pass away, but they never do, like, a 10-bell salute, which I don't know if that's just, like, an indie wrestling thing, but for that always disturbs me. You would think, like, with the number of great and amazing legends that have passed away in the last couple of months, if not years and stuff, that they would realize that they need to start doing like a 10-bell salute. Just have the entire roster come out, you know, do a 10-bell salute and then start the show.
They do a 10-bell salute for the people that are under contract to them when they pass away. Not for
That's
people who aren't under contract. Well, I'm just saying that's kind of what they do.
That's just, I guess that's just ridiculous, especially for the fact that he's a Hall of Famer and stuff, and for his contributions to the business and stuff. You know, I think that, anybody who's been in this business has had any kind of modicum of success, they totally deserve a 10-bell salute.
Well, definitely, but that's just not how they do it. I don't know. I don't work there. I don't want to work there. I don't even want to understand why they do things.
I will say it bothered me a little bit because I got the news on Sunday night, ironically, while I was at a memorial service, and I thought, well, it's good they know this on Sunday because by Monday they can do a very respectful tribute to him to start Raw. And I was surprised they just limited it to condolences and video packages and didn't do a 10-bell salute like William suggested. But then I also thought there are so few people there other than Vince, Undertaker, Shawn, who's in NXT mostly, that would actually remember Bobby at his glory days, that maybe they just didn't feel like it was right to have a bunch of kids who've grown up post Bobby Heenan paying condolences to him. I don't know.
No, I'm thinking Vince just didn't want to take up television time.
It's a 3-hour show.
For somebody that wasn't any longer associated with the company.
It's a 3-hour show. They got plenty of time.
I know. Don't ask me to get in Vince's head. It's a dark and twisty, scary, stupid place.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, Jason, you can lead us on.
All right, and this is something that I'm sad that I missed out on, but you guys had on the guy from Bytown Wrestling the week my computer decided to blow up, and apparently his event has blown up. What were your guys' take when you had him on the show? What was the general feeling and gist that you got from him?
It was kind of like he was promising something he couldn't deliver. And, you know, my one question to him was, if you were being, you know, this ambitious in your first show, how in the hell do you ever expect to live up to it in the future? Well, turns out he didn't have a first show, so there's nothing to live up to. I just thought that, you know, that old saying, if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. This was.
You know, Abby, you know, like, I definitely, I know I said in the chat that I definitely agree with you or something. He was being very ambitious and stuff. And I've read, you know, I've gone on social media and I've read the tweets and stuff. And I've talked to some of the guys that were supposed to work the show. And then, you know, Stevie was nice enough to contact the guy to see if he wanted to come up here and refute or give his side of the story. And I guess he said no for different reasons and stuff. I feel like all the information that we have right now, like, things just aren't adding up to me. Like, somebody's lying big time. Does that make sense to y'all?
They didn't add up in the first place. I mean, seriously, you have all of this huge name, all these huge names in this huge venue for a no-name promotion that's never done anything. To me, it sounded like a big old ball of bullshit to begin with, but I didn't want to say that when the guy was on the show. It's like I didn't want to say, hey, you sound like you're just pissing in my ear and telling me it's raining. Why don't you tell the truth? It just did not sound, something was not copacetic.
Well,
he was talking about his business partner and stuff. Well, he didn't really mention a lot about his business partner and stuff. But from the first real big thing of evidence that we got and stuff is, like, your money guy, or whatever you want to call it, is a 19-year-old, and you're using, his mother's basically funding your shows. Like, and like you said, just the payroll, for his show had to have been $20,000+. Because I know for a fact that Sting charges $5,000. The one show that I worked with Sting, it was $5,000, and then there was another, $10,000 if you want him to put on the face paint. So that's $10,000 automatically. And, and just adding up all the guys, and there was like 30+ guys that are supposed to be on the show or something. And then he's running in like the biggest venue in the province and stuff. I understand the whole go big or go home, and, he was like, Japan has New Japan Pro Wrestling, and England has Progress or whatever. Why can't, Mexico has CMLL and AAA. Why can't Canada have this big, huge, promotion? But the thing is that these guys didn't start off that way. They didn't start off, bringing in all of these names. They found one guy and which is what, in my opinion, which is what you're supposed to do. You find one guy that you can build the company around, make him your focal point. And while doing that, you can start building up other new talent. You don't want to, like I know I asked him, Abby, correct me if I'm wrong. I was like, there's not a lot of Canadians on your show. And
yeah,
I wasn't saying that to be like, hey man, why are you shitting on Canadians? It was, there's a lot of talented Canadian wrestlers who you could have brought in for a lot less money, and fans, and they already have a built-in fan base in Canada. Why not bring these guys in for less money than blowing your whole wad for this huge mega show?
And he kind of blew his load before anything happened. And, reading and looking at things, it's kind of like, so even with the excuses, something doesn't add up.
Well,
I don't know if he was a con man from the start, or if...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if anybody will be able to hear me, but I'll go ahead and say something about it really quick. The person who initially passed AJ's name to me said, we've got a local promoter here who's trying to put on a show, and he'd like to come on and talk about it. And you know me, I'm open to having people on for interviews to talk about wrestling shows they want to promote, and independent wrestlers who want to promote the shows they're on. So I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity for us. I didn't know he was going to sell us a bill of goods. I didn't know he was selling a bill of goods. All I knew at the time was, let's see what this guy is all about and what his promotion is all about. But going into it, I did have concerns when he gave me a list of talent that he was bringing in for this tournament, and he was getting top names that would command top dollar amounts. Like any indie show I've ever been to, attended, or seen like this, they would get one of those guys and then run their own talent with that one guy. They wouldn't get all of these guys at once.
Oh, that's why it seemed too good to be true.
There's something I wanted to bring up, is I wasn't on the call, and I don't know if he brought this up when he was talking to you guys, but there was stuff that I was reading about him trying to pitch this wrestling show to Netflix or to HBO. Was that something that he had mentioned in the interview with you guys about trying to sell this to major media outlets?
No, that didn't come up when he was talking to us. The reason that came out is because the Ottawa, Quebec's, basically Canadian wrestling historian Pat LaPrade, who knows a lot about that province and local wrestling there, wrote a very scathing editorial condemning the fact that this guy was a dreamer and that he sold everybody a bill of goods. And part of what LaPrade asserts in his editorial is that he said to everybody that would listen to him that he was going to get this as a series on Netflix and that they were filming it with that in mind.
But that wasn't something that was kind of, I guess, insider knowledge for him. That wasn't something he was publicly putting out in interviews and things like that. That's kind of what he was telling the venue and telling prospective wrestlers, that may have shown up for this.
Right. We weren't made privy to that pitch.
Yeah.
That only went to talent and the venue.
Okay, that was the component I was looking for, because that was what stood out most to me when I was reading that, was, that, from what I had heard, especially with Abby saying it sounded very ambitious to me, trying to pitch something to Netflix or to HBO or some major media outlet, especially for someone running their first wrestling show, that does seem very ambitious and very pie in the sky.
And especially the Netflix part, because I can go a little bit behind the scenes with this one, because I'm friends with somebody who had a documentary made about his life as a professional video game player, and getting this on Netflix was the highest bar to hurdle over. They could get it on Amazon Prime for next to nothing. They could get it on Hulu for a small amount, but Netflix sets a bar very, very high in terms of the quality of the video and the amount you have to pay before you can get onto Netflix. It's not just an anybody can join type of service.
And that's just more money that gets added onto that pile of magical money that's piled up and piled up and piled up.
Right. Now,
I was reading that thing that you had talked about today with, who was it? You were saying it's New Japan and somebody else, or maybe GFW was looking at bringing in Mysterio, but it looked like he commanded $10,000 per date. And if that's kind of a going rate among superstars of that caliber, as Will was saying, $10,000 for Sting doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility, nor somebody like Rob Van Dam or other guys like this, and that money can pile up very, very quickly.
right.
Well, in the editorial, and one thing that got me was supposedly this guy said he was a huge wrestling fan, and he had been involved in the wrestling business before, and this is something he always wanted to do. And in the editorial was saying, and once again, I'm not going to reveal my sources, but there was guys who was asking for, in the editorial said 8 times as much as they usually get on the indies. I definitely know that a couple of people I talked to said that they definitely asked, because it was a first time promoter and stuff, they asked for their regular fee as a deposit, and they charged us guys twice as much. And they were kind of worried, which is why they asked for a deposit, because they were kind of worried, because they were like, there's no way that this guy knows any wrestling business if he's willing to pay us this much money.
That was something I was going to ask. Is that a standard practice among wrestlers, Will, to ask for twice as much from a first-time promoter?
Well, no, and knocking down the fourth wall a little bit for y'all. As wrestlers, if it's your first time working for a promoter or for a company, of course you ask around, hey, how's this company? How's the promoter? How, does he pay you or he's supposed to? Does he try to, slide by? Does he come with the whole, hey, look, I don't have all of your money. Can I PayPal you the rest? So, you always get what's what and who's who whenever you're working for a brand new company or working for a new company or you're debuting for a company. If it's a brand new show and this is the first time they're running, you say, okay, well, this is my rate. Or they say, hey, well, how much is it going to get? How much does it cost? And of course, we all know you always ask for more than what you really want. And if they say, sure, or, let's say, for instance, I say, Jason, you're a first time promoter. You say, Will, we really want to book you for our first ever show. How much does it cost to get you here? Oh, well, look, man, I need, $500 plus, round trip air and a hotel. If you automatically say, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Or if you say, oh, 500, well look, we'll give you 750. I'm immediately worried.
That throws up some flags for you there.
Exactly. It's immediately, I'm like, okay, well look, to make sure that I hold this date for you, I'm gonna need a deposit of this much. And usually I'll say my deposit is going to be, 175 to, 150 to $200, which is usually my going rate. That way, if you cancel, I got paid for a booking I don't even have to show up to, and I didn't lose any money.
$500, you better show up in your Tai Chi gear.
I'm just telling you. But that's what guys do. I mean, and of course, wrestlers talk just like women, and no offense, Abby, but just like women in any other business and stuff, wrestlers talk. What? Women talk more than anybody else. The only people that talk more than women are
That's
wrestlers.
bullshit.
Well, it's the truth. The only people that
How
talk
about
more than
women
women are
wrestlers?
wrestlers.
They must talk a whole bunch.
Oh, women wrestlers talk a whole lot, but wrestlers talk all the time, and but wrestlers will say, "Hey, look, this guy," and I know all of you have heard the term, "This guy's a money mark." Oh, well, as soon as you hear the term, "This guy's a money mark," you immediately know that you can price gouge the shit out of this person, and you're immediately going to double and or triple your rate just to see if you can get it. I will admit that I've been guilty of it. A lot of my friends have been guilty of it because it's like, hey, look, this is the business. And if you're willing to pay me twice as much as what I usually ask for, well, I'm just going to take it because I got bills to pay.
So your first priority is, and I don't think they really understand that wrestlers are people outside of this business with friends and families and stories and lives that have nothing to do with a wrestling ring. So your first priority is to yourself and to your family. You have to cover your own ass. So yeah, take the deposit.
Exactly.
If they're going to pay you more, take more because you're the one out there busting your ass literally while they're sitting in the back doing whatever the fuck it is they're doing. Which in this case with this guy is like hiding under somebody's bed somewhere.
Oh my, as soon as I read that editorial and I was like, oh great, the guy went to the hospital. Because I don't know if you guys remember, last year when they had supposedly a huge fan fest was going to happen in Georgia, and nobody got paid whatsoever, and to avoid paying everybody, because the guy gave out rubber checks from his parents' account and stuff. The first thing that these shitty ass con artists or whatever you want to call them, dreamers, indie, tax money promoters. The first thing they do as soon as something happens and something goes wrong, they immediately check into the hospital. That right there, in my opinion, as a wrestler, the minute as a promoter, when something goes bad, you go into a hospital, you say, oh, I have a health issue, I'm immediately feeling like, oh, you're trying to duck and dodge and hide.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. And of course, the guy's not here. He not give his side of the story, but this is just what we have heard and we have seen from many sides.
Well, we do have his written statement. He's not here to answer questions on the air for us, but he did send a lengthy email, and I will quote a little bit of it just so we can get some of his story on the record. He says, Tuesday
yes,
evening...
parentheses, I have proof.
Right. Well, I'm not asserting the validity of what he said or reading the entire thing. I'm just giving an excerpt here. He says, Tuesday evening before the Bytown show. Tuesday evening I got very ill. Tuesday was when we started booking flights. As of 9 a.m. Wednesday, all flights were booked. Wednesday, after I took care of sending out flight info to wrestlers, I was placed in medical care. My partner took over operations. On the way to the hospital, I sent the venue my credit card information. I started getting messages from wrestlers later in the day saying things were canceled, which I had no knowledge of. On Thursday, I started getting messages from people saying the event was canceled. I finally heard from my partner that the event was canceled, and he gave a bogus story about the venue not being paid. I repeatedly asked to speak with the venue, and each time was refused, saying they would take care of it. That's his side of the story.
Now, can I say that that's total bullshit? As a grown man, if I'm sorry, I'm just because if nobody else can say it, I'll say it. As a grown man, I'm not gonna ask Stevie J's permission to call the venue, especially if it's my credit card. First of all, if I'm in the hospital, I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm in the hospital for something serious, the last thing on my mind is a wrestling show. I'm sorry, the hell with you guys. I know you have family and friends and this is your life, but damn it, I'm in the hospital. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about wrestling right now. Wrestling has taken a back burner, and anybody in the wrestling business would understand that. So if it was something serious, all the wrestlers on the show would have understood. Look, man, you're in the hospital. I get it. That's just how it is. So number one, that's bullshit. Number two, like I said, I'm a grown man. If I'm on my way to the hospital, first of all, and I think in his email, actually, he wasn't on his way to the hospital, but he was in the hospital over Wednesday.
Yeah, he was in the hospital Tuesday night.
Yeah. But they're supposed to take a check or something, and then he was like, well, I'm in the hospital. Can I just give you my credit card information? And they said yes. If I've given this building my credit card information, there's no way Stevie J could tell me, no, you can't call them, we'll handle it. I have a cell phone, there's a phone book, I can just, obviously I'm the one that's been talking to these people already, I should have somebody's information. Why didn't the people at the venue contact me if I gave them my credit card information to say, hey, listen, your credit card, your credit card didn't go through, it's rubber, it's no good. Like, we're still demanding payment. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. That is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard, that you need somebody else's permission to call, you need your business partner's permission to call the venue after you've already paid the venue or you've already paid the deposit off of your credit card.
Will, I'm going to give you a chance to react to something else he said then, and you can call bullshit on this if you want to. He said, from day one, I have had to reassure my partner and his mother about ticket sales. I've worked in the Ottawa sports scene enough to understand most ticket sales come from walk-ups, especially when it comes to a show people don't believe is going to happen. Every time these concerns came up, I was there to reassure, but then I got sick and wasn't able to. They panicked, they started cutting wrestlers, which caused a major backlash, and they couldn't get out of it. They thought if they canceled the event, they would get their money back. And from what I've heard, they were right. Now your reaction.
Abby, hold on. Abby, do you want to say anything about this?
I'm just calling something stinks to high heaven in all of this. Because kind of like Will said, even though if you're in the hospital, a wrestling event is the last thing on your mind, but there is no way in hell, unless this guy is 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, that he's going to have his partner and his partner's mommy handle things for him. No, you're a grown-ass man. This is your baby. This is your project. You do everything in your power to take care of it. And I will add one more thing. This guy, I don't care if you want to call him a dreamer. I think that is way too kind of a term. But if his dream was actually to do something like this, it has gone to hell in a handbasket because nobody in this business will ever trust him.
That's
all I got to say about that.
That is the sad part to me, because when we had him on the show, his enthusiasm for professional wrestling didn't seem bogus, as that's a word he's like to use in this statement. He didn't come across as bogus. Maybe he came across as overly ambitious. Maybe he was shooting for the moon and didn't even have the funds to launch a rocket off his back deck for $150, but he
didn't have the funds for a sparkler.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm driving at here, but I can at least understand the passion, because as people who follow wrestling, report on wrestling, do professional wrestling on this show, we are all passionate about wrestling, but I think he got overexcited by his passion, and then when the bill of goods came due, he checked into the hospital. That's my read on it.
Exactly. And then the excerpt you just read, Stevie, was like, and the editorial said that there was like 200 tickets sold or whatever. And he was like, people walk up. If you have Sting, who, as far as I know, is a wrestling legend, unless, I'm mistaken, and I live in the bizarro world, Sting is a legend that doesn't really go to Canada that often. And then you have, Rob Van Dam and Moose and Trevor Lee and just a host of indie darlings and stuff on this show. People, at least the smart marks of Canada, will show up and they'll pay for these tickets. The reason why people didn't pay for the tickets is because most of them probably felt the same way that Abby felt, was that, you know what, I don't feel like this show is going to happen. He has way too many people on this show. There's no way. Does anybody ever heard of this guy? Has he wrestled? Has he worked with another wrestling company? No? Well, I'm not going. Like, I'll wait until the day of the show. So that might be correct. Abby, I don't know if he was 19, but I guess his business partner was 19, the one who, whose mom basically tried to pay everybody. And kudos. Let me say kudos to all the boys who returned the deposits and gave the money back when they realized, these two guys were a bunch of idiots and numbnuts that had no idea what the hell they were doing and didn't want the mom to basically lose her fucking house over a wrestling show. Kudos to a lot of those guys who sent their money back. I don't know if I'd have been one. I may have sent some of the money back, but I would have kept some of it and just be like, that's what you get. Don't let your son do dumb shit anymore.
This is a lesson to everybody everywhere. Don't let your kids do stupid shit. Because we will keep their money.
Well, as long as if we're giving out kudos, I should also say we got to give kudos to the two Ottawa area promotions that went ahead and ran a show on Sunday night and said, hey, all you fans who thought you were going to get to see a show, come to our show. We'll let you in and you can come watch our wrestlers.
Yeah, see that right there. Go ahead, Abby, I'm sorry.
I mean, at least they, they didn't have a stake in this, I don't think, but they went ahead and went on with the show anyway. So, yeah, good for them and good for the local talent that hopefully got paid. That's all we can say about that.
And it'll probably be a better show than Bound for Glory. I'll say that much. It's going to take place in Ottawa.
Oh,
I'm so sorry, Ottawa. First, this guy cancels on you, and now you've got Bound for Glory coming up there. I feel your pain, and you have the Senators, so yeah, you're not doing so well in hockey either. So, my deepest apologies to you, Ottawa.
As far as the other two promoters who jumped in, according to the editorial, one of the promoters actually jumped in and tried to continue making the show happen, just because he didn't want the wrestling scene in Ottawa to suffer. He didn't want the wrestling scene, which I guess was something he had helped build up, to get a black eye for fans. Because most wrestling fans, the average wrestling fan doesn't say, oh, well, that's Bytown Wrestling and this is, Alpha 1 or whatever the case may be. They just see wrestling. So to them, once you burn the average wrestling fan, they're not going to another non-WWE wrestling show because they've already been burnt once before. So one of the wrestling promoters, not affiliated with Bytown Wrestling, actually jumped in to help out. And then when, all of his, everything was exhausted, they finally was like, all right, you have to cancel it. There's no way this is going to happen. I like the little dig that the two promoters and stuff who actually did decide to put on the show. I actually like the little dig that they got at Bytown Wrestling when they named their show Do the Right Thing. I don't think in no way were they paying homage to the Spike Lee movie when they named it that.
Hey, I'd like to add something really quick about this, since we all got the press release this week that Bound for Glory is, coincidentally enough, coming to Ottawa and taping a whole week of shows afterward for Impact Wrestling in Ottawa. And when pressed on the amount of attendance they expected, the people at Anthem and Ed Nordholm said they would be happy with...
This is so funny.
They would be happy with the Ottawa market if they got 500 people a night for the pay-per-view and the tapings. And Bytown was running a 4,000-seat venue. So here we have a national wrestling company, whatever you consider F that Al to be, but they are national.
Sort of.
And they were looking for 500 people a night, and yet a first-time promoter was trying to fill a 4,000-seat venue in the same market. That doesn't add up.
No, and I've seen a picture of where they're holding Bound for Glory. It looks like a damn airplane hangar.
Yeah, there aren't even any bleachers in there. Impact Anthem, sorry, I still say TNA sometimes. They have to build their own bleachers to have people to seat, places to sit.
Well, let's see. This week they've dropped any and all reference to Global Force Wrestling or GFW, so now they're just back to Impact Wrestling.
So are they going back to the old Impact belts, or are they going to have to make new title belts, or what are they doing with their...
We don't know.
They made those beautiful Fuck That Owl titles, now they're going to have to get rid of them.
Well, no, I mean, the Owl is still there. The Owl is still running the show. It's just the Global Force part of it that is not there.
But weren't those title belts branded with GFW on them? They had the Owl and they had both, so that's... Well, I'm saying they're going to have to do something about those belts.
They'll have to either make new belts or get rid of the Global Force.
Put some duct tape over the GFW on the belts. There.
Yeah, duct tape, WD-40, something over there to, they're in Nashville. Hell, us Southerners know how to deal with shit like this. Some duct tape, WD-40, and fixed with that. It ain't worth fixing. Just,
Hey, Abby, just
they're going to do.
Hey, Abby, just tell me to get some of those mailbox stickers like a lot of those shitty ass indie companies do. Just stick them up there. Get the,
Yeah, just something like that, you know.
It was up to Abby to be
Super
stickers
glue,
of Yano's
craft
head.
paper.
Yano with his mouth agape. Stick that over the GFW logo.
You know, super glue, construction paper, and some glitter would be good to go. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do, but Cornette's gone. Jarrett, for all intents and purposes, is gone. Bounce of Glory is going up to Ottawa to fill an airplane hangar with 500 people, and how the hell they're going to disguise that, I don't know.
Green screen.
It's not a pretty situation.
No, but at least they're booking a venue they figure they could actually draw for the size of the crowd they expect.
At least they're being honest about their low expectations and saying this is realistic. This is what we're shooting for on a good day.
Well,
Can I say that how
hoping that they could? Did Ed say that they were hoping that they could sell 500 tickets, or that they could give away 500 tickets to people that might show up?
Well, that's the thing I wonder too, because I feel like to get 500, they might have to give out a lot of comps.
Well, they're used to doing that, aren't they?
Yeah, in Orlando,
They never
that's all
charge for
they
their
do.
shows. That's why I asked that.
I was going to say that was their entire Florida business model was comps.
Can I say that it is pretty damn bad to where they're hoping as a national TV company, national TV wrestling company, that they are hoping to get 500 people, which I've seen regular indie shows draw more than that with way less talent.
Not only 500 people, but 500 people in the capital of Canada, in the nation's capital of Canada. They're hoping to get 500.
That's like saying WWE runs in Madison Square Garden, and they're like, or WWE runs in New York, and they're like, we hope we get 1,500 people to come to, Madison or to the Hammerstein Ballroom. Like, hopefully we can get, 1,500 people. Maybe.
Well, at the rate they're going, they may just get there.
So this transitions nicely into tomorrow night, which is Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. And the small little venue of Sam's Town that they run this thing in is still not sold out. So we're less than 24 hours away from Death Before Dishonor, which is one of their biggest shows of the year. It's the 15th anniversary show, and Sam's Town still isn't sold out.
And Suzuki's going to be there, which means he's not going to be on the Road to the Destruction show.
Wait, before we go any further,
yes, he is going to be at the tapings after.
What is the seating capacity of the venue at Sam's Town?
Why do you ask me that when I don't really have that right in front of me?
Because you said
Let me see if I can find it.
You said it's not sold out, so I'm trying to get some...
Sam's Town Hotel. It's talking about the gaming space. I'm looking at their Wikipedia page, but it doesn't really have...
I don't even know what the thing is called.
Well, according to what I'm looking at now, the theater can hold 1,200 people. If I'm looking at the right website, 1,200.
Yeah, that's probably about the right amount.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically they're looking
that
for...
If they had Tachi on the show, they would probably sell it out.
Of course that was going to come up. But you know what? I bet they'll have more than 500 people.
It's not a really great card.
It's not, and I really don't want to see Suzuki jump to Cody. I really don't.
Yeah, we'll just run down the card. It starts tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it on pay-per-view, ROHWrestling.com, the Fight TV app, a PlayStation Network, and it costs...
Or pirate the hell out of it. Or just pirate it, because you can.
I wasn't going to say that, because,
I went there.
Wrong. And children, if you're listening at home, we do not condone you pirating anything having to do with wrestling.
It's an option, but yeah, we don't condone it.
Yes. Okay. Here's the card. Chucky T versus Marty Scurll, which should be a fun match. I like Chucky T. And I love Marty, so. Then we have the Briscoes and Bully Ray versus the Kingdom. Whoever wins that match gets a shot at the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles later in the show. We have a street fight between Jay White and Punishment Martinez. A last man standing match between Jay Lethal and Silas Young. Then the six-man tag title match between the Bucks and Hangman Page. I don't know if they found Hangman yet. For all I know, he's still in a shed being forced to watch WWE Network. I do not know because we've got no update on him. They will either face the Briscoes and Bully Ray or the Kingdom, whoever wins the first match. Then the Bucks are wrestling yet again with putting the tag titles on the line against Motor City Machine Guns. Kushida will put the World Television title on the line against Kenny King, and then the ROH World title match will be Cody versus Minoru Suzuki.
Yay.
Honestly,
Well,
that doesn't sound like
at
a
least we know
terrible
Suzuki
card.
won't be running in.
That actually seems like a pretty decent card to
Well,
me.
it's not the best of cards either.
I didn't say it was like...
Yeah, but normally they have more.
Yeah, it's not
They have more New Japan presence.
Yeah, usually they have more main roster call-ups on their card. This time they only have like 2 guys.
Yeah, but it's Misu. And I'm hoping that if they do, I mean, we know that Suzuki is going to lose. I just hope that they're doing something to set up Bullet Club versus Suzuki again. Where, Suzuki will drag, Cody's lifeless corpse through the streets of Tokyo to Cork and Hall and then beat the shit out of it. I don't care as long as something like that happens.
That's the thing, is that we know that nobody from Suzuki Gun is going to be there because they're all appearing the next day on New Japan show.
Yes. Which do we want to go over that card?
We can do that too. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about with Death Before Dishonor first? Did you want to say something, Will?
I was just going to say, how mighty, I have so many opinions, and I don't want to, I really, maybe because of this Bytown wrestling, I'm in a really shitty mood. I don't know.
I'm just in a shitty mood because of life in general.
Okay, well, I'm taking inspiration from Abby then.
There we go.
This is
you can't say something nice, come sit beside me.
There you go. This is such a lackluster ROH card. ROH was known at one point for being totally innovative, for being different, for being wrestling for wrestling fans. And now it's like, oh, this ROH pay-per-view. Do we really want to watch it? Not really. And I'm not going to blame the talent. You can't blame the talent. You have to blame. I'm going to put all the blame on creative. The same as with TNA. It's not the talent because I know a lot of these people. A lot of these people on both these companies are friends of mine. It's not the talent. These guys are some of the best wrestlers in the world. It's the creative department. Whoever's booking these shows are doing a horrible, shitty job. And as TNA and for TNA and for ROH, if you are drawing less than what you were drawing 5-10 years ago, you need to look at your office. You need to look at the person who's holding the pencil and be like, shape up or ship out, because their creative departments are killing these companies. Just, there's no creativity whatsoever. In what fucking universe would the Young Bucks be wrestling twice on a pay-per-view card? They're telling me that you have a lack of creativity, you have a lack of roster strength, you just have a lack, period, point blank. 100%.
There's one glaring omission I'm not seeing here too. Where's Dalton Castle on this card?
Exactly.
He's not on this card.
That's what I'm saying.
And also, look at it like this, and here's how I look at it, and here's how it's been looking for the last 2 years, is that ROH is no longer the number 2/number 3 company in America, period. Because now you see most of their talent come to ROH for a year, maybe 2, and then they leave and they go to the Performance Center, or they go to Evolve, or they just go back to the Indies. Something needs to change, period. They have a very deep roster, and looking at Future of Honor cards, they have the talent there. Why don't they just put a women's match on this pay-per-view while they build up their women's division? Why not? Women's wrestling is hot as shit. They just had the Mae Young Classic. Why are you not putting Kelly Klein in the ring against somebody?
Yeah, Deonna Purrazzo said something about that on Twitter today. It's like, what do we have to do with the Women of Honor roster, to get on the shows? They don't even have a belt. They don't even have a championship. And I suppose, with guys like, if your booker is named Delirious, that could have something to do with the problems. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm I'm just really disappointed in professional wrestling as a whole this week.
I'll say this, Ring of Honor normally announces another match the day of the show, so I'm expecting we might see Dalton Castle make the card tomorrow in some kind of surprise announcement match. Because they
Dalton
always
Castle
do that
versus
the day
Tai
of the
Chi.
show.
Dalton Castle versus Tai Chi. Oh, that is the match of the year. Match of the year candidate.
Oh, hell no.
Tai Chi can be one of his boys.
I wouldn't wish that on Dalton Castle. I wouldn't wish that on one of the boys. I don't want Dalton Castle's ass anywhere near any part of Tai Chi's body. No, it ain't happening.
That's just mean.
Yeah, Tai Chi is going to be at the Destruction and Kobe show Saturday.
Sunday.
Is that Sunday? Okay, yeah, it's Sunday, September.
It's the 24th at 3 a.m. Yes, 3 a.m.
Fun.
Yep.
Stupid o'clock.
It's really stupid o'clock.
And it's going to get even stupider when we have to set the clocks back.
Yeah. Let's see, the first match is Kawato and Tenzan, fellows, against Kitamura and Oka. So I guess Kitamura and Oka are actually a tag team now. Poor River people don't get the shit.
Don't they have some kind of weird name for their tag team?
Monster Rage.
Monster Rage. That's it.
Don't ask me. The second match is another weird, I guess is Taguchi Japan, which encompasses everybody in New Japan who's not in another stable.
Even Tony Makabe, who is sort of. I guess he's the only Grand Bash heel left.
Yeah. Ricochet, Taguchi, Tiger Mask, Liger, and Makabe against Suzuki-gun, Takamichi, Tai Chi, Kane Maru, and Azuka, I guess, because Misu will be over here in Las Vegas shopping at Bass Pro Shops. You should have seen him today on Twitter. You should have seen Misu today on Instagram and Twitter. He had found his slice of heaven in Las Vegas. Somebody took him to the Bass Pro Shop and ammo, fishing lures for days. He was just thrilled beyond belief.
So the uncles tell people to get off the lawn, and Misu says, I'm going fishing.
Pretty much. Third match is Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto versus Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale. And then our gateway to the heavyweight division match. We'll see Beretta versus Yujiro Takahashi.
When see some of those nice heavyweight style tope con gyro dives.
Yeah, I don't understand when Yujiro became the gatekeeper to the heavyweight division. But, oh well. Then we have, and I swear we have seen this match at least twice before, for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. We have War Machine versus God versus Killer Elite Squad. Yeah. Second verse, same as the first verse, same as the second verse.
Third verse, same as the second.
Then we have Michael Elgin and Soccer Mom Tanahashi versus David Finlay and Kota Ibushi. They had to switch this card a little bit.
Boo.
What? Are you booing Ibushi?
What are you doing?
David Finlay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were booing Ibushi.
I'm going to go ahead and say that he's taking the pin in this match.
Finlay or Ibushi?
Yes.
Finlay.
I think we can all agree on that one.
Yes.
Seventh match is Rocky Romero, Yano, and Ishii versus Bushi, Sonata, and Tetsuya Naito. Eighth match is The Cat and Okada versus Takahashi and Evil. Yes, Will Ospreay is still a cat. Don't let anybody tell you different. And then the ninth match, which I'm just really, really worried about, is Kenny Omega coming back less than 3 weeks after the knee surgery to put his title on the line against Juice Robinson.
I'm really looking forward to that match. Like, Juice has really grown on me since he was like
but
DJ
Kenny
Parker.
had surgery 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that
I'd hate to see him come back to the ring and make it worse. That's my only concern.
I think that they're gonna have a really good ground-based match.
I hope so.
Because CJ works in American style. Like, CJ can work in American ground-based style and stuff. Juice. He can work a very ground-based just American style stuff. I don't think that we'll see as many flips and dives from Kenny Omega as we're used to. But I'm still thinking that it's going to really be a really, really good match.
And that's the thing. Juice doesn't need to do that to get over with the Japanese crowd because he's already over with the Japanese crowd.
Yeah, and let's hope Kenny is just not stupid.
Juice is over with the Japanese ladies.
Yeah, in fact, wasn't it one of the last shows during the G1? Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it was kind of offensive. He just needs to kind of calm down a little bit.
Can we talk about the good news with New Japan? A guy who's no longer on their roster, apparently?
He is still on there. He still works for the company. He has not gone anywhere. He is just working in CMLL right now.
Well, hopefully that's permanent.
Well, Yoshitatsu, I mean, he's been in CMLL for a little while. I think they're keeping him around a little bit longer. It's kind of like Bone Soldier, Captain New Japan, who disappeared into the ether, but is actually a trainer at the dojo, you know. And if anybody missed last weekend's Destruction in Hiroshima card, you really didn't miss much. If you want to watch anything, go back and watch the main event with Tana and Zack Sabre Jr., because that was pretty decent, as was the match
after all the
between
interference
Kushida and
got out of the
Dempsey.
way.
The interference wasn't as bad in that way. It didn't bother me as bad as the Me Too match at the Destruction show. I don't know why, but it didn't. But yes, New Japan, Sunday morning at 3 a.m. And then we all have to settle in for No Mercy, Sunday night, 7 o'clock.
Yay!
WWE Network.
Woohoo!
If WWE's around by then, I don't know. They're getting so much bad mainstream press right now. I don't know if they're going to either do a show or not.
What do you say? Shall we run down this card?
Can we just throw it under the bus instead?
I'm all for kayfabing this card. Fuck this show. Don't watch it. Don't even pirate it.
We have the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, putting his title on the line against Jason Jordan. Why? I don't know. Jason Jordan is not exciting. His storyline has been flatter than a pancake. So I don't know where they're going.
Kurt Angle's son didn't work out?
No. It's shocking, isn't it?
That had such legs I thought would really take off.
Then we have Neville versus Enzo Amore for the Cruiserweight Championship. And just the fact that Enzo has to get in the ring, that Neville has to get in the ring with Enzo just kind of makes my skin crawl a little bit.
It's going to make it crawl worse when Enzo leaves with the belt.
Yeah, at least Braun Strowman bulldozed him on Raw this week, so...
I will vomit if Enzo wins.
I fully expect Enzo to win.
I will
it
vomit
makes no sense.
I will vomit if Enzo gets a longer title reign than the previous title holder before Neville.
Who was the previous title holder before Neville?
Akira Tozawa.
Oh, Tozawa.
Who had it all of a day?
6 days.
6 days. Oh, then we have Mono y Mono, Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Why I care about this, I don't know. I have gotten to the point where I do not care about Prince Devitt, and that bothers me immensely. That's what WWE has done to one of my favorite wrestlers.
WWE ruins everybody.
I would say I'm got to the point where I don't care what they do with Bray Wyatt, and at one point I thought he was like the hottest thing in WWE.
Bray Wyatt's got to be on repair now.
And then for the Raw Tag Team Championship, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus Cesaro and Sheamus. It'll be a good match, but once again, I don't really care who wins. I don't care. Then the women's Fatal 5-Way with Alexa Bliss putting her title on the line against Sasha Banks, the returning Bayley, Nia Jax, and Emma.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're going to do in this match.
Probably for stupidity's sake, they'll have Emma win.
They're going to put it on Bayley.
Why? They don't know what to do with Bayley. They have ruined her too.
They're not going to put it on Nia Jax, so it will be bold and predict that.
And they're not going to put it on Emma because she's just like the laughing stock.
Look, this is WWE. Do they ever do anything that makes sense?
No.
True.
That's why they're not going to put it on Nia Jax.
Then we have John Cena versus Roman Reigns.
Oh, goody.
Okay, I want to say something positive about this. Roman Reigns actually cut the best promo he's ever cut this week on Raw, running down John Cena for being a hypocrite, for pointing out that The Rock was a Hollywood star and only came back to WWE when he wanted to, when he had time to, only now Cena is doing the exact same thing he was mad at The Rock about. So, point, set, match Roman for this week.
Hey, I've always said Cena was a hypocrite.
But it's kind of nice to have...
Doesn't make Roman any better.
I'm not saying it improves every single thing about Roman, but I feel like at least he got the win this week.
Abby? He wasn't even in the building. He was in China, yes.
I have a question. Specific. Did you hate John Cena?
I think he's a hypocrite.
I'm just asking this because you so vehemently hate Tai Chi because of his out of the ring fall paws.
He's dumb.
But John
Cena is a hypocrite.
John Cena sucks. John
yes,
Cena sucks just as much. And he's nowhere near as entertaining as Tai Chi. Tai Chi isn't
even anywhere near the zip code of entertaining.
What? Tai Chi I don't understand.
There is a reason that fans in Japan chant, "Fuck you, Tai Chi," and "Go home, Tai Chi." They don't like him either.
Mallets and tearaway pants do not a wrestler make.
This match with Cena and Reigns, this has been a bad build up to this match because all it's been is two guys making each other sound like the most horrible cretins to ever walk the face of this earth. And I don't want to see either of them win. I just want to see them both go away. Because neither one of them have been portrayed as having any redeeming qualities. You know, one's a cookie cutter, mass produced, WWE factory made parody of the other one, and
the other is
the
Roman
other
Reigns.
one is just a fake ass bitch.
So the best case scenario for this match is both guys tear their ACL simultaneously?
That or the health opens up beneath the ring. You know, I'm not picky.
So I guess I'm the perverse bastard of the podcast right now because I'm actually looking forward to this because I like the dynamic of two guys that the wrestling fans are probably going to simultaneously despise in record numbers at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And I want to see how much heat this gets when there's nobody they like in it. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
I'm seeing Cena get the cheers and Roman get the boos. I don't know. I don't on Cena as a human being because he's a hypocrite. Roman Reigns is a fine human being. It's just I don't like him because of the way he's presented in book. I just don't like that. You know, it's the same reason I don't like Okada. Okada is a goofy ass, doofus, fine human being, but he's just booked in a way that I just do not like. Cena, I do not like as a human being or a wrestler. Kind of like Tai Chi. I'm like TJP. You know, I just don't like them as human beings. They're scum.
Did you notice Alex Riley got in a little dig on Cena in the course of this whole thing?
Yeah, I was trying to decipher what that tweet of his meant.
Well, allegedly, and no one has ever confirmed this, Cena and Riley got into a backstage blow-up, and because of that, Cena went to management and told them, derail this guy's push, don't use him.
Well, yeah, that much I knew, but nobody really knows the circumstances behind it because Riley won't talk about it. And he's been asked numerous times to talk about it on different podcasts, and he won't go into it.
Probably for libel reasons. I imagine if he said whatever actually took place, he might get sued over it.
Well, see, this makes everybody's dislike and hatred of John Cena perfectly normal and rational.
Which I think is what his tweet was hitting at, was like, oh, hey, Roman, you finally figured it out. Now you know what I already knew.
Now you're beginning to see WWE, you know, it's like, okay. And then the final match, we have Universal Champion Brock Lesnar, who shows up, I guess, in between hunting seasons in Canada, against Braun Strowman.
Well, once again, I actually felt like something good came out of Raw with this, because the back and forth between Heyman, Strowman, Lesnar, and Cole, minus the Cole part, actually really got me hyped up to see this on Sunday, especially when Brock interrupted right at the end and said, "Thank you, Broad. Thank you for waking me up. That's when I'm at my best. See you on Sunday. Suplex City, bitch." I got excited for that.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to this match just simply because I like to see, two guys just beat the shit out of each other. Yeah, I think Braun's going to win. No, because they're saving up for Brock and Reigns for Roman's next coronation at WrestleMania next year, and it won't take either. But I don't know. I just hate to see that. I hope they protect Braun Strowman in a loss.
One question I want to ask you, Stevie, and you, Abby, and I guess you will if you watch, because I do not watch Raw. I don't watch WWE at all anymore. But one of the overarching themes I've been hearing on different podcasts is that they're pulling the trigger way too soon on Lesnar versus Strowman, and this could and should be drawn out for a longer feud and have their big matchup later down the line. Do you think this match is happening too soon?
Well, they've pulled the trigger too soon on a lot of these things. They did the exact same thing with Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. They could have dragged that out way too much longer than they did, and they pulled the trigger on it, and it's already done.
They did the same thing with Cena and Reigns. It's just being rushed, and I don't know why they're rushing all of these things.
I definitely feel like they're definitely pulling the trigger too soon on Braun versus Brock and stuff. Like, I feel like this match may be, if not WrestleMania worthy, but definitely Royal Rumble worthy. It just needs to be on the bigger stage. Like, this is physically, they're the two biggest, strongest guys on your roster, and they're about to go, one-on-one, head up in a match. It's like, it definitely deserves to be on a pay-per-view bigger than No Mercy.
Well, as far as the bigger and stronger goes, I think Mark Henry could make an argument to be stronger, and I think Big Show could make an argument to be bigger. But let me rephrase what you said, William. The two active guys on the roster that are the biggest and strongest.
Okay, yeah, the two biggest, strongest guys, and I guess because he shows up every couple of weeks, Brock Lesnar is active. The two biggest, strongest active guys on your roster are about to go head up. I feel like, if they're going to build up to Brock and Braun Strowman, let them destroy every other heavyweight or every other heavyweight contender in between, before them two face each other. They could have went through, being the fact that they already pulled the trigger on Samoa Joe versus Brock, they could have had Braun Strowman go through Samoa Joe. They could have had Braun Strowman go through Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman go through Cena and stuff, leading up to him finally facing Brock Lesnar.
I think they kind of have had Braun run through Roman. I feel like they've already done that with Braun, is have him go through Roman to get where he is now.
Well, you know what I mean. But he should be. Jesus Christ. I mean, in my opinion, like, if it's like big guys, Jesus Christ, you have a big guy right here that is believable. He doesn't have to do a lot to be believable, just like Brock. He can just grab you and throw you, and the fans believe it. And not only that, the fans love him. The fans like him a lot more than your pet project, Roman Reigns.
But he's not the chosen one. So that's why I don't know if it's instant gratification that's making them do this, or if they are so hell-bent on pushing Reigns as hard as humanly possible into Cena's position that they're just letting other things fall by the wayside and not really paying much attention to it.
Well, you can't fault them for wanting to push somebody into Cena's position, because Cena ain't around anymore. They really do need to put somebody in Cena's position.
But the thing is, nobody can take Cena's place. They can't. They don't have another Cena there. Right. We've already learned it's not Roman Reigns. And if you look at attendance figures, it's definitely not Roman Reigns.
Well, it's definitely not Jinder Mahal either.
Oh, God, no.
Hey, Abby, I'm gonna ask you and Stevie this, Abby. Do you think that they're not putting Braun Strowman in that position because it's a widely known yet hidden fact that Vince McMahon doesn't like guys from the South with really bad Southern accents. And with Braun Strowman being from Carolina, you know, when you hear him talk, he has a country twang to his voice when he talks. Do you feel like that's why they're not going to put him in that main guy spot?
No.
This is kind of what I think. I think that, and I said this, I remember saying it on the show when we were talking about Kevin Owens when he was Universal Champion. He didn't do media. He didn't go out and do the Today Show. He didn't, you know, go out and do this, that, and the other. But Balor did for the one day he had the title. He was on Good Morning America. Cena does all the time. Vince wants the face of his company to be aesthetically pleasing. And when you put Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman side by side, well, guess who's prettier?
Yeah, and
Kevin Owens was never on Good Morning America or the Today Show. Never did the mainstream media stuff. But Finn Balor did for the 24 hours he held the title. John Cena does it all the time. Roman Reigns does it all the time. So I think it's just a matter of Vince wants somebody who looks good to be in that position. But the problem is, the person that looks good is not the person that can handle that position.
Or more to the point, the person who looks good isn't necessarily the person the fans want. The fans don't want a pretty boy.
I'm about to say, as a resident 300-pound fat guy, I found in my meager experience that most American women are chubby chasers. And while guys like John Cena and Roman Reigns are pretty to look at, most women want a guy that looks like nobody will ever talk crazy to her when this guy is around. I'm just saying, most women, the average American woman would probably much rather be with Braun Strowman than Roman Reigns. Like, he's pretty to look at, but like nobody will ever say anything crazy to me if I'm standing next to Braun Strowman. Just saying.
Hey, if it
women
weren't me,
like,
Trick 7 would do everybody's media everywhere. You know, that's just me. But Vince wants somebody that looks good in a suit and presents a very Hollywood-esque movie star quality out there as the face of his company. The problem is, those people can't do it because A, the fans don't accept them, and B, those types are not the best talkers, they're not the best workers, and they're not selling tickets.
See, I was reading way between the lines of what Will said about Vince McMahon not liking the southern accent thing that Braun Strowman has. So Vince McMahon overcompensates that by going far north and putting the title on gender because he's Canadian.
And speaks Punjab. Oh, but this segues
I'm saying that basically because of, you know, when JR first went to WWE and stuff, and Vince was like, he didn't like Jim Ross because he sounded so country and so southern. That's the only reason why I said that, because, you know, Braun Strowman has a southern accent. I can tell he's from Carolina just from the way he talks.
So what? Who cares?
I'm not saying I care. I don't give a shit. I like the guy. And not just because he's from Carolina.
Most of the fans don't give a shit either. But this segued nicely into Jinder Mahal and what he was doing on Tuesday night and how that backfired big time on WWE.
When you get a live crowd chanting, "That's too far! That's too far!" you know you done fucked up, right?
Yeah, and, you know, first of all, it's time for the evil foreign heel to go away, and I wrote a feature on this week at Top Rope Press. It is time for the evil foreign heel to go away. It worked after World War II with Baron von Raschke and Hans Schmidt and Fritz von Erich and Tojo Yamamoto. It worked. It worked during the Cold War with Nikolai Volkov and
the Iron Sheik.
Ivan and Nikita Koloff. It worked during the Iran crisis with the hostage situation with the Iron Sheik and the original Sheik. It worked to an extent with guys like Kamala But now, I mean, since the 90s, we're supposed to hate Canada and hate England. And now in 2017, we're supposed to hate Indians and Bulgarians. Just because someone looks different than us and talks different than us, that does not make them an evil foreign, heel. It doesn't work anymore. And you had a guy from Canada portraying someone from India standing in the ring, calling a Japanese guy that he's wrestling at a pay-per-view, making fun of how all Japanese people talk and saying that, he looked like Mr. Miyagi. That crosses the line. You can get heat without being a racist. You can get heat without, trying to just appeal to the lowest common denominator and taking the easy route.
Here's the dumbass part
we can
of the
hate
whole...
gender
That's what we
because
call...
he doesn't...
We all want to jump in on this.
That's what we call cheap heat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even X-Pac heat. You're a dumbass motherfucker heat.
And that's exactly the point, is that they're trying so hard to get over this idea that Jinder is a hypocrite because he's saying racist things and he's accusing the crowd of being racist. But this hypocrisy angle doesn't work because in the process of trying to prove he's a hypocrite, they are pissing off the fans who are paying to see the show, and they don't care that he's a hypocrite. They just care that he's saying racist things.
But I can see Vince McMahon's warped mind saying, okay, this racism thing is getting us mainstream media press. Let's stick with it.
And yet they
that's what he's doing.
They had to issue a rebuttal to the Washington Post.
They issued a statement today.
And the Post hadn't even written the article yet. Go ahead, Abby.
The statement that they gave out in response, and the statement was run in the Post piece. Just like many other TV shows or movies, WWE creates programming with fictional personalities that incorporates real-world issues and sensitive subjects. As a producer of such TV shows, WWE Corporate is committed to celebrating individuals from all backgrounds as demonstrated by the diversity of our employees, performers, and fans worldwide. Embracing and celebrating by saying that Japanese people talk funny and look like Mr. Miyagi.
Okay, can I say this?
90% of the audience did not know who the fuck Mr. Miyagi was.
Can I say that in the wrestling business, and we all know this once again, that there's good heat and there's bad heat. Good heat is where, Ric Flair and Nick Bockwinkel where the fans are paying their money to see the heel get their ass beat. Like, they want to see this heel get his comeuppance and stuff. And then there's bad heat, where the fans aren't paying their money, period, and you turn your fans away. This is a prime example of bad heat. And not only is it bad heat, it's bad cheap heat. That's something that I would expect from a wrestler who's been in the business for less than 2 years, because they don't know any better. When you get to the level of WWE, where you're supposed to be one of the best wrestlers in the world, you have to get away from the bad, cheap heat. There's no place for any kind of racism when it comes to professional wrestling. We have enough of that in the regular world. And the average wrestling fan is not, I'm not going to say that all wrestling fans are not racist, because best believe you me, wrestling in the South, I meet up with a lot of racist fans. But you don't need that on a national platform. Like, people have to deal with that already on social media and in their regular lives. And when they pay their money to come to a WWE show or any other wrestling show, they don't want to see that. They don't want to have that thrown in their face. It makes people uncomfortable. And now people don't want to come to your show because you've put them in a bad, awkward position where they're like, oh man, like, I don't know how to react to this. I hate you and I don't want to boo you. Go ahead.
It's like during this match, they can't start a USA chant because one guy's Japanese and one guy's Indian. Or Canadian Indian.
So is Jinder going to come to the ring for the match with really round glasses and false buck teeth?
Well,
that's about as far as they could take it.
Well, that's sort of the problem with, I got to address something Will said, and it's that they don't need this thrown in their face on a national platform. But WWE does this on a consistent basis. They go for the lowest common denominator. Oh, yeah. They go for the bad heat. They've done this over and over for 15 years or more that I can recall incidents off the top of my head They've had things like Randy Orton cutting
Katie
a
Vick.
promo on TV saying Eddie Guerrero was burning in hell after he died. That was bad heat. They had Triple H dressing up like Kane to rape a corpse on live television. That was bad heat. It's funny, but it's bad heat. They do these kind of things on a regular basis.
Yeah, but getting to the point, yeah. And it's all for one man's sense of humor. One stinking, stupid, out of touch, batshit, insane, certifiable, out of touch jackass. One man.
They always push it even past the point of no return to where they shouldn't push it. And then finally, after the backlash has already happened, they quietly drop it. But they will never not take it too far. That's what they do.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, it was brought up in this Washington Post piece that statement they gave was kind of, sort of, almost identical to what they said when they fired Hogan. So that was their justification for getting rid of Hogan. But it's their justification for being okay with what Mahal did and writing it for Mahal to say.
Right, so you might as well have had Hulk Hogan come out on live television and say what he did on the sex tape, because then they could defend it with the exact same statement.
Exactly.
Can I say that I'm highly disappointed in Jinder Mahal for even saying that line. There comes a point, I understand that this is a job. I'm getting to that, because there comes, I understand that this is your job and they pay you, but there comes a point where you have to operate from a matter of conscience. You know what I'm saying? You have to stick up for yourself and say, look, I don't feel comfortable saying this, period. Because although we, as wrestling fans and as smart wrestling fans, and me being a wrestler, we know that, hey, we're putting all the heat on Vince McMahon, like Abby did. Like, hey, Vince, we're putting it on Vince. The history is going to put it on Jinder Mahal, and the average wrestling fan is going to look at Jinder Mahal, even though we all know he's just doing what they told him to do. Not even as a wrestler, as a person, I'm very disappointed in him for saying that he should have said, no, I will say a lot of things, but I'm not going to take it there.
See, this goes back to what I said last week about there are people in wrestling who care about their craft, who know that WWE is not the place for them to be if they want to hone and develop their craft as an artist. And then there are people that are there for the paycheck. Mahal is obviously there for the paycheck.
Well, speaking of Mahal, can we talk about this? It's something I talked about Tuesday night on the Wrestling Nerdcast. Is the reemergence of Starrcade this year.
Oh yeah, that was going to be my next little topic.
Just so they can screw with WrestleCade, they're relaunching Starrcade.
Well, they're denying now that it has anything to do with that.
Air it on the network?
No, they're not. It's
not being shown.
It'll be a network special. I've heard they are airing it as a network special.
No, it is not. And it's not being aired on the network special. And I find it so funny that it's not, because the usually WrestleCade, and I've been to the last 3 WrestleCades, and they draw, like last year they drew a little over 3,500 people, which is a lot for an indie show. We can all admit that. Even for a fan fest with over 100 legends, that's a lot of fans. And it's, and I was just going to tell you that front row for the main show, if you want a table side seat for the main show, you are paying upwards of $800 for that table that fits like 10 people. So, you're paying a little over $100 per seat to sit front row, and they sell out every year. I find it very petty that WWE would run a show less than 45 minutes away from WrestleCade. But getting back to why it's now on the network, I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, well, that's not very smart for Vince, because you can be at WrestleCade and just, pull up the WWE network on your phone or your tablet and watch Starrcade at the same time while you're sitting at WrestleCade. And about about less than an hour later, all of a sudden the news came out. It will not be on the WWE Network. It's more like a house show that they've named, that they've given a name to.
Which, to me, defeats the whole
I
point
don't know.
of
I've heard
calling
from
it.
multiple sources that it's going to be on the network.
I've seen multiple that say it's not, so we're gonna probably have to split
I
hairs
guess
on
time
this.
will tell on this one.
But to me,
Wasn't that why they were able to extend the offer to Cody Rhodes to come, because it won't be on the network?
Oh no, they extended the order to Cody just to screw with Cody because of the fact he was bitching on social media that they were using an event created by his dad without giving his dad credit.
So they were just calling
Like
it bluff,
didn't.
basically.
Yeah, Michael Hayes
Yeah,
was
like
just
he
being a
couldn't
smartass.
You couldn't use the names of my father's creations while he was there, but, you know, you can use them when he's gone.
And so Hayes sent out a tweet and he was like, hey, if you want to be part of this, you can come back and wrestle for us. Yeah, that's Hayes just being a jackass. But anyway, there was something else I wanted to say about it. Why are they even gonna do anything with the Starrcade name other than screw with WrestleCade? Because clearly they are not going to put on a Starrcade like the ones that we know of from yore. There's not going to be a War Games match. There's not going to be anything like a Starrcade event at this Starrcade. It's going to be a glorified WWE house show.
Pretty much, but Vince has got to, you know, be Vince and why not fuck with everybody else? And, you know,
I was talking to
dick in the damn room.
I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and like I said, we were talking about it on the show and then off the air. I feel like they're going to definitely draw some fans away from WrestleCade, for the simple fact, for nostalgia reasons. People are like, oh snap, I'm going to WrestleCade. I'm going to Starrcade. Like, I grew up watching Starrcade when I was younger. I'm finally going to get a chance to go and watch the show. I am disappointed that they're having Starrcade in North Carolina, and they have several wrestlers, who hone their craft in the Charlotte, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area who is not on this show. I know they've announced that the Hardy Boys will be making an appearance and stuff, but they have R-Truth, who is from Greensboro, North Carolina. They have Braun Strowman, who's from outside Charlotte. Cedric Alexander. The Revival is from the area. I know Dash is from Asheboro, which is like an hour and a half away from Winston-Salem. They did say that Charlotte Flair was going to be there. Obviously, you know, they're going to have Charlotte Flair on the show. But I'm just disappointed by the lack that you're going to have Starrcade, and you're obviously doing it just to screw with WrestleCade, and then you're not even going to screw with them correctly. My biggest fear is that there are a lot of names and legends who are supposed to be at WrestleCade. And my biggest fear is that Vince McMahon is going to say, "Hey, look, we have you underneath a Legends contract. We're going to need you in Greensboro for Starrcade instead."
They've already announced Ricky Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express, so.
I have to ask Jason a question.
Okay.
Do you remember the Coleco Chameleon that was announced a couple of years ago?
Kind of vaporware hardware?
Yes, where they were going to resurrect the ColecoVision with an all-new box that could also play Steam games and emulate classic games.
It was hyped up and never delivered upon.
Right, and it turned out that the people behind it were basically just licensing the Coleco name and were not actually in any way affiliated or associated with the original Coleco Holdings company that created the ColecoVision. They were just using...
Right, it was kind of like what people used to do with domain parking. They just kind of snatched up the trademark once the trademark had expired.
Right, and in a way, I feel like that's eerily similar here, is that WWE, because they bought everything in a fire sale over the years and just now basically own most of the wrestling world, they have this trademark they're doing nothing with, and they're like, you know what? We can take the name value of this event and slap it on something. That doesn't make it a Starrcade. That doesn't mean it has anything to do with the original Starrcade. They're just using that name because they own it.
It's still just slapped in an Atari Jaguar case and a video capture card is being shown WWE.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, but truth be told, I mean...
Go ahead, Abby.
The Greensboro Coliseum is where Starrcade originated. That was where the first one was held. That was where it was held for years and years. And it was always held right around Thanksgiving until Survivor Series came along. Then it started, airing around Christmas. So I can kind of see the logic behind them doing this, but I still think it's a lot of pettiness involved with the whole WrestleCade being that same weekend.
It is definitely petty. Make no mistake about it. And WWE does this all the time. Whenever somebody gets a big show going and gets a few thousand people going to it, they will run events the same weekend in the same market just to screw with them. They've done it many, many times. Just like being offensive. They have a pattern of doing these things again and again.
Yeah, and I don't know why. It's like, shit, Vince, you want to do this? Just get your dick out on the table, take a picture of it, and every time something like this happens, you can show somebody just how big you are. It doesn't have to be a pissing contest every single fucking time.
Well, unfortunately, he's had that mentality since the 1980s because that was the only way he could win back then was by having the bigger dick than everybody else. And he just never lost that mentality.
I will say kudos to the owners / promoters of AML, which is the host of WrestleCade, Tracy Myers and Brian Hawks, because they're if you follow them on social media, they're taking this totally in stride. Like if it was me, I would be livid. I would totally livid that here's something that we built up, and this is a brand that we built up for the last 5-6 years, and because we're starting to really make an impact and get a name for ourselves in the wrestling world, you want to come and screw with us. But they've taken it totally in stride. They're not, and from what I've seen, they're not really mentioning it that much. I mean, they have done a little couple of petty, little small shots and stuff back at events. But they've been overwhelmingly good natured about the entire situation. And it almost seems like they're welcoming the competition that night.
Well, the problem with welcoming competition in the form of WWE is they're a 600-pound gorilla. They can sit where they want and sit on anybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, WrestleCade is still. Go ahead, Abby. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Will. No, go ahead. You finish off.
I was gonna say, Vince is definitely gonna sit wherever he wants to, but I mean, WrestleCade is gonna lose they might lose a couple of hundred fans, but they're still gonna have a huge crowd and stuff, man, who's still gonna come there throughout the weekend, because this is not just, for WrestleCade, it's not just one night, it's the entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the main show may, lose some customers, if you want to call them that, but they're still gonna have a really good time. And I feel like, they're not gonna lose as much money as everybody's expecting.
Yeah, I think WrestleCade will be fine in the end, but it's just the pettiness, that's all. It's disappointing that they have to even deal with that. They'll be fine, but they shouldn't have to even be said to be fine. It should have just never even been an issue.
It's Vince McMahon. It's always going to be an issue.
That seems to be the theme of our show this week.
Pretty much. And there wasn't that much in the way of news this week either.
Oh, wait, you're going to say that at the same time we know that WWN is being sued by Flow Sports?
I was saving that for last, Stevie.
I consider that a pretty newsworthy week when these two business partners suddenly seem to be on the verge of blowing everything the hell up.
Well, go ahead and talk about that. I was saving it for last.
Yeah, well, since I let the cat out of the bag, Flow Sports is alleging that WWN inflated the numbers of people that were buying live streams and pay-per-views in order to get more compensation.
And isn't there some alleged countersuit that is soon to be filed? It sounds like they're going to be slinging mud from both sides here.
Oh yeah, WWN has not issued their own lawsuit yet, but they are expected to at any moment.
I'm going to say fuck both of those companies. I'm going to take a line from Abby and fuck both of them. I hope the ground opens up and sorry to everybody involved with both companies.
They charge $30 a month for their service?
Yes. No, mainly because I was on a show that was promoted for the longest time that it was going to air on Flow Slam, and then the week of the show they decided that the company wasn't important enough to be shown on the Flow Slam network, and it was like, as a consolation, it was like, oh, we'll put you on WWN Live. So, and then WWN Live basically did a really horrible job of shooting the show and promoting the show and even commentating the show. So, fuck both of them.
Anything to add to that, Abby?
Nope.
Well, I'm sorry I let your cat out of the bag early, but if you want to get to the other news of the week, I will shut up and let you do it.
No, that was kind of all I had. That was kind of the lead into the WWN stuff. But, yep, that's about it.
Oh. I thought you might have something to say about the attendance in the infamous show that we talked about with Jinder cutting the awful promo.
Well, no, that was the hard cam side, and everything was roped off, and it seems to be nothing unusual with Raws and SmackDowns, so. They're not drawing good, they're not selling tickets. I mean, they can make whatever excuses they want, and everybody else can too, but pictures don't lie.
I've heard fans
Incredible,
who were
shrinking audience.
Fans at the building say they've been to other shows in that same market, and usually the hard cam side is much better filled in than it was on Tuesday.
Well, considering all the seats were covered, they weren't even, available or anything. I don't know, it's just not a good look because it's at house shows and Raws and SmackDowns now, so.
I think this proves the Jinder experiment has failed, though, because it's not converting 1.3 billion people in India into customers, and it's also not converting people here into customers, so maybe it's time for it to end.
I mean, it's not just Jinder, it's the Raw brand, too.
I don't
They're
think
not selling tickets either. Their house show attendance is just as bad.
Right, but I think live Raws still draw better than live SmackDowns. I think we're still seeing that Raw is considered the flagship brand, and as much as they promote SmackDown being live and SmackDown being on USA Network and SmackDown being the follow-up on Tuesday nights and SmackDown being its own brand with its own wrestlers, it's still the B show. No matter how you try to slice it, it's still the B show. That could be a new entrance song. Well, it's the B show. And that's just because Abby says we can't go 1 week without Jason Arai singing, so I had to sing.
Oh, of course, every week. Can't escape it.
All right, so I think it's time for some cheap plugs. Abby, why don't you go ahead and start?
I will plug Progress on Demand. I will plug New Japan World. And I will plug me on Twitter. You can find me at Abby A.
That sounds good. And Progress has had some monumental stuff going on in the last couple of weeks, so now is as good a time as ever to get on board the hype train and see what Progress has been up to.
Definitely.
All right. Mr. Huckabee, what do you have to promote?
Well, I'm promoting the Wrestling Nerdcast. Every week, check out the Wrestling Nerdcast, right here on the AngryMarks Podcast Network. Myself and Mika Village and Killer Kev, bring you some pretty great interviews from, a lot of great indie wrestlers, not only in the Southeast, but around the country. This week, I will be at OSCW Saturday night in Whitesburg, Georgia. Come check me out as a defender Worldwide Grand Prix title. I think it's actually the first time that title's actually been defended in the state of Georgia. And then Sunday, I will be at the Marietta Event Hall in Marietta, Georgia for AWE, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's gonna be a great show. A lot of great Southern wrestling fans will be there. Sugar Duckerton, Team IOU, Gary J, and just whatever his name is. I can't pronounce his last name. The Evolved Tag Team Champions, Anthony Henry and James Drake, aka the Workhorsemen, will be there. White Mike and Timmy Lou Retton, aka the Gymnasty Boys, the Ugly Ducklings, Chip Day, et cetera, et cetera. Kiera Hogan, Camilla Kane. Just come check us out. Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. is, bell time. Follow me on Twitter at WA Huckabee. Follow me on Facebook, William Huckabee. Instagram, William Huckabee. Everything William Huckabee. And make sure to like the Wrestling Nerdcast, Facebook page and the Twitter page, W Nerd Pod on Twitter.
Right on. I have one quick question before I go to Jason's plugs. Well, I've heard AWE draws some pretty good-sized crowds, so I think it's fair to say you can get more than 500 for that show, correct?
Oh, we've definitely got close to 500. We've been in the low 400s. So I guess you could say that pretty soon AWE will be the new TNA.
That's what I was going for. Thank you. So, Jason, cheap plugs on your part.
Yeah, I'll also plug New Japan World. Best 999 yen you can spend a month. I'll plug myself on Twitter at Great Sudoku.